Hey guys. Okay, so we are going to solve quadratics by square roots today. So this is really easy. You get to any quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0. You get to do this. Okay, so highlight this. It's when you have no bx term. Okay, so no bx term you can solve using square roots. And it's super easy. You just solve for x by taking the square root. So for example, we have x squared minus 49 equals 0. There's no bx term, so I can isolate x squared by adding 49 to both sides, and that gives me x squared equals a 49. And then I'm just going to take the square root. So take the square root of both sides. What you need to remember is this note right here, that a positive number will always have two square roots. So taking my square root will undo the x squared and just give me x. And then the square root of 49 is a positive and a negative 7. Oops, it won't let me write. Sorry. And you're done. Okay. So again, you can do this when there's no bx term. Okay, so it cannot be in standard form. It has to have no bx term. And you just isolate x squared and then take the square root. So for example, something like number 6. Here on number 6, I just have to end up dividing by 6. And x squared is equal to 54 divided by 6, is a 9. And then I will take the square root of both sides. And just remember that you have two square roots, a positive and a negative, and so 3 would be your answer there. These are all going to be rational solutions, which means that they're going to have a perfect square. Irrational solutions are going to be what happens when we don't have a perfect square. Again, as long as there is no bx term, we can still do the exact same thing. So if you look at number 17 here, we still just need to isolate x squared by moving this number to the other side and getting that x squared is equal to 3. But I have no idea what the square root of 3 is here. So again, take the square root of both sides and just know that x will equal, simplify this, simplest radical form, in your calculator, and just make sure that you don't forget that it's a positive and a negative. Square root of 3 can't be simplified anymore, so it is the positive and negative square root of 3. I do want to remind you that if you try and take the square root of a negative number, your calculator will give you a domain error. It probably also did that yesterday with some of your quadratic equation formula questions. Remember, that means that there is no real solution. So there is no real solution, so you cannot take a negative square root of a number, or you cannot take the square root of a negative number, which means that there is no real solutions. Okay, so you may see a couple of those on here. Hint, hint, number 23. Okay, so the rest you guys are just going to solve. Again, your steps are, it's a two-stepper. Isolate x squared by doing the inverse operation. So that means adding 16 or adding 100 or subtracting 7. And then take the square root of both sides. Just don't forget that it always has two square roots, a positive and a negative. When you guys are done with that, please make sure that all of your discriminant and quadratic formula worksheet from yesterday is done. And also make sure that you practice on Delta Math if you want to. Remember that our graded homework is going to be on Monday, and our test is next Wednesday the 25th. Thanks, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.